beat me. If they could beat me, they would have went to the polls. But now when I bring the people out, you don't let them in?
We're not your damn subjects. We are your bosses. We are the citizens of Dalton. And you will not continue to treat us.
Tiffany Henyard, the self-styled super mayor, is watching her political empire crumble before her eyes, and it's truly a spectacle. Known for her flair for the dramatic and a knack for stirring controversy, Henyard has captured the spotlight time and time again. However, after a string of high-profile failures and public outrage, her once ironclad grip on power is rapidly slipping. For those following the saga, it's shaping up to be a drama worthy of Netflix, packed with political infighting, personal grudges, and the kind of theatrics only Henyard can deliver. In a desperate bid to maintain her role as supervisor of Thoron Township while balancing her duties as mayor of Dalton, Henyard's career has become a whirlwind of chaos, particularly within the Democratic caucus, and this only accelerated her downfall. Her attempt to seek re-election as supervisor ended in defeat, marking what seems to be the beginning of the end. The whole scenario is unfolding like a slow-motion train wreck, with Henyard clinging to power even as those around her lose faith in her leadership. It all began with the controversial decision to hold two powerful political positions simultaneously, something that raised serious ethical questions. The strain of trying to manage both roles clearly took its toll, causing increasing tension within local government and dissatisfaction among voters. As the Democratic caucus descended into turmoil, it became clear that Henyard's grip on both her mayoral and supervisor roles was weakening. Her opponents seized the moment to strike, pushing her further into a corner. Now, with her re-election bid lost and the political tides turning against her, Henyard's once unshakable confidence seems to be unraveling. What was once a glittering career fueled by bold promises and grandiose ideas has morphed into a cautionary tale of arrogance and overreach. Despite the mounting controversies and a significant decline in public trust, Henyard's continued attempts to remain in the limelight have only added fuel to the fire. As her empire continues to collapse, the public is watching closely, wondering just how much longer she can hang on to what's left of her power. With every new scandal, every public clash, and every failed attempt to regain control, Henyard's chances of making a political comeback grow slimmer by the day. The once mighty super mayor may be fading into obscurity, her fate sealed by her own arrogance and the slow unraveling of her once ironclad grip on power. As the saga of Tiffany Henyard plays out, it's clear that her fall from grace will be remembered for years to come. Whether she can stage a dramatic comeback remains to be seen, but for now, the political world is watching closely, waiting to see how this once powerful figure faces her reckoning. And for anyone who's been following along, one thing's for sure: this story is far from over. Grab your popcorn, because the Tiffany Henyard show is still unfolding, and there's plenty more drama ahead.
If you don't get the Democratic Party's nomination.
What do you mean? I will be victorious tonight. You will see. My people are here.
When Tiffany Henyard stormed out in a fit of fury, furious that her name wasn't on the ballot, it was clear that her political aspirations were falling apart before everyone's eyes. She didn't handle the exclusion well, making sure everyone within earshot knew just how displeased she was. The scene quickly turned into chaos, as the crowd, growing frustrated with her outbursts, yelled at her to kiss them goodbye and demanded that she leave. Tiffany's dramatic exit was far from the dignified departure one might expect from a seasoned politician. But it wasn't just her angry tirade that had people talking. It was the circumstances surrounding her expulsion that really fueled the fire. The root of the issue lay in a set of long-forgotten caucus rules that Thoron Township hadn't used in 3 decades, which ultimately disqualified Tiffany's slate of candidates from being considered. To qualify for the ballot, these rules required a full slate of 8 candidates, covering positions like supervisor, 4 trustees, the highway director, the clerk, and the assessor. The problem for Tiffany? Her team was incomplete, missing a certified assessor, rendering her candidacy invalid and her hopes for re-election dashed in an instant. As Tiffany's supporters protested and hoped for a different outcome, the man behind her downfall was none other than State Senator Napoleon Harris, who also happened to serve as the Democratic committeeman for Thornton Township. Harris stepped in to ensure the caucus rules were upheld, taking charge of the situation and securing his victory as the Democratic nominee for supervisor. His swift action and calculated maneuvering not only sealed Tiffany's defeat, but also solidified his position as the Democratic candidate for the office Tiffany had once hoped to claim. For Tiffany and her supporters, however, Harris's intervention seemed less like a simple enforcement of party rules and more like a political maneuver to undercut her candidacy. They saw his actions as a calculated attempt to eliminate her from the race, using his position to sideline Tiffany and make room for his own ambitions, a move that left them feeling both betrayed and furious. As tensions continued to rise, it became clear that this wasn't just about following the rules. For Tiffany, it was a blow to her ego and a direct hit to her political future, one she was determined to fight, even if it meant going up against her own party. As for Harris, securing the Democratic nomination for supervisor was undoubtedly a sweet victory, but it came at the cost of deepening the rift within the party. Whether Tiffany's claims of an unfair and unlawful power play would hold any weight, or if Harris's maneuvering would be seen as a necessary step to protect the integrity of the caucus system remained to be seen. One thing was certain, though. This political drama was far from over. The stage was set for a battle not just over who would lead Thornton Township, but over the future of party politics in the region. As Tiffany's fury continued to boil over and Harris solidified his position, the stakes had never been higher. Who would emerge victorious in this increasingly bitter clash for control? Only time would tell. But for now, the political showdown in Thornton Township was shaping up to be one for the history books, complete with drama, scandal, and high stakes. Rivalry. Queen Tiffany Henyard was far from willing to let this situation slide. Behind closed doors, she launched a blistering attack on State Senator Napoleon Harris, accusing him of using underhanded tactics to keep her out of the race. She labeled the entire caucus process as a deliberate effort to suppress her candidacy. For Tiffany, this wasn't merely a political setback. It was outright voter suppression. She claimed that many of her supporters, who she had arranged transportation for via township buses, couldn't make it to the crucial caucus meeting because the buses arrived late. According to her, this delay wasn't a mere mistake, but a calculated move to disenfranchise her base. Tiffany's anger reached its peak, and she wasn't afraid to voice it. In a private conversation, she declared, "Tomorrow, I shall be suing everyone involved." For Tiffany, the violation of her supporters' rights wasn't a minor hiccup. It was a grave injustice she was determined to fight with everything she had. What made the situation even more absurd was the fact that many of her followers were left stranded outside while the meeting went on without them. The buses she'd arranged had reportedly shown up too late, leaving her supporters frustrated and confused, standing outside in the cold, both literally and figuratively. This wasn't just a simple mistake in Tiffany's eyes. It was a deliberate attempt to sabotage her political career, and she wasn't about to let it go unnoticed. The image of her supporters waiting in vain outside while the caucus continued, inside, only added to the absurdity of the entire situation. Always ready to play the victim, Tiffany wasted no time in painting herself as the target of a political conspiracy, framing the events as a clear case of voter suppression. Her accusations were bold, explosive, and seemed designed to capture as much attention as possible. For Tiffany, this wasn't about losing an election. It was a fight for justice, a battle against forces trying to prevent her from serving the people. Despite her fiery accusations, Tiffany's critics weren't backing down. Many dismissed her claims as nothing more than another one of her dramatic tricks, a last-ditch attempt to discredit the people who had brought her political career in Thornton Township to an abrupt end. Whether her legal threats would amount to anything was still uncertain, but one thing was clear: the drama surrounding her political collapse was far from over. As Tiffany geared up for her lawsuit and took to the media to air her grievances, her supporters began questioning her true motives. Were they really the victims of a coordinated effort to silence them? Or was this just another chapter in Tiffany's long history of political theater? What was unmistakable, however, was that Tiffany wasn't going to quietly fade into the background. She was determined to keep the spotlight on her, whether through legal action or by making sure the public remained focused on her alleged victimization. As the fallout from the caucus continued to unfold, the question loomed: would Tiffany's legal threats gain any traction, or was this just another setup for a public spectacle? Either way, it was clear that Tiffany Henyard wasn't going to let her political drama die down anytime soon. It was a story filled with all the hallmarks of a political thriller: a bitter power struggle, accusations of voter suppression, and a self-proclaimed leader unwilling to back down without a fight.
All it took for Tiffany Henyard to be out as the Democratic nominee for Thornton Township supervisor, and she left here visibly.
That State Senator Napoleon Harris had already pre-registered and secured his team, leaving Tiffany Henyard's supporters scrambling to gain any advantage. The situation was already tilted in Harris's favor, as he and his slate had the nomination locked down. Tiffany's only option to stay in the race was to run a write-in campaign. But, let's be honest, how often do write-in campaigns actually succeed? The odds were against her, and Tiffany knew it. Still, she wasn't ready to accept defeat just yet. Confidently, she declared, "I will be victorious tonight. You'll see, my people are here, and they're not going anywhere." While Tiffany's words might have sounded triumphant, the reality for many was that it felt like karma catching up to her. Her tenure as both mayor of Dalton and supervisor of Thornton Township had been marred by scandal after scandal, with each new revelation seeming more damaging than the last. Critics had long accused her of mismanaging public funds, using them for lavish vacations, expensive meals, and personal indulgences. One report even claimed she had spent over $43,000 in a single day on Amazon. Yes, you read that correctly. $43,000. To make matters worse, her cancer foundation had been shut down for failing to disclose how it used its donations, adding even more controversy to her already tarnished reputation. But the scandals didn't stop there. The FBI had reportedly been investigating her administration for months, sifting through everything from financial misconduct to potential abuse of power. With all this mounting against her, many were left wondering how Tiffany had managed to escape serious legal consequences. The late-arriving buses for her supporters seemed to be the final straw. Tiffany's reaction was far from graceful. Rather than acknowledging her mistakes, she acted as though she had won the lottery, showing little responsibility for the chaos that had unfolded. While her fans may have praised her audacity and unwavering confidence, many others saw her as conceited and polarizing. Her public outbursts, like the infamous village board meeting where she boldly declared, "Like it or not, I am your mayor," only reinforced the image of someone who thrived on conflict. In fact, some locals started comparing her to reality TV, villains whose over-the-top behavior was entertaining at times, but ultimately destructive. Tiffany's combative demeanor may have been one of the reasons she lost support from key political allies, which only made her defeat at the caucus more likely. As the day of reckoning arrived, Tiffany's supporters seemed more divided than ever. Some rallied behind her, while others began questioning her leadership. For many, her refusal to back down and her dramatic approach to politics had become a double-edged sword. While some admired her tenacity, others saw her as a polarizing figure, more interested in holding on to power than actually serving the people. The caucus was simply the latest chapter in a long series of controversies that had defined her career. Her extravagant spending habits, her refusal to take responsibility, and her combative attitude all contributed to a political downfall that seemed inevitable for some. Tiffany's loss felt like the long-overdue consequence of her actions. The fact that she couldn't secure the Democratic nomination despite her bold proclamations spoke volumes about her dwindling support base. The FBI investigation, the shutdown of her cancer foundation, and her questionable spending habits had all taken their toll on her credibility. It seemed that her political empire was finally crumbling, and her write-in campaign was unlikely to change the outcome. The caucus had exposed the harsh reality. Tiffany Henyard was no longer the unstoppable force she once believed herself to be. Her political career, built on controversy and a combative leadership style, had left her isolated, with few allies willing to back her. The loss at the caucus was just the beginning of what could be the end of her career. Her supporters, once loyal, were starting to question whether her leadership was worth defending. The tide was turning against her, and despite her bravado, it seemed Tiffany Henyard's days of political dominance were numbered. The drama surrounding her was far from over, but with each passing day, it became more evident that Tiffany's reign in Thornton Township was rapidly coming to an end. What had started as a fight for power was now a struggle for survival. As her adversaries closed in, Tiffany seemed to be on the verge of losing everything. The caucus, which initially seemed like just another political contest, had become a tipping point in a much larger saga that would ultimately define Tiffany's legacy. Would she manage to salvage her career with a write-in campaign, or was this the beginning of the end? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain. Tiffany Henyard was going to do whatever it took to keep her political drama alive. Despite the growing obstacles surrounding her, Tiffany Henyard isn't backing down without a fight. She's already discussed potential legal action to challenge the caucus results, claiming that the process was manipulated against her. This isn't the first time she's pushed back on a political process that didn't go her way, and she remains confident that her name recognition and loyal supporters will be enough to carry her through a write-in campaign. Henyard firmly believes that enough people will rally behind her to make her victory possible, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. While Henyard's unwavering confidence may be admirable, her path to victory is anything but clear. Running as a write-in candidate is notoriously challenging, especially against someone like Napoleon Harris, who now has the full backing of the Democratic Party and the political establishment. Harris's campaign is well organized, funded, and supported by powerful allies, leaving Henyard at a significant disadvantage as she attempts to mount her comeback. Henyard may continue to rely on her name recognition and the passion of her base to power her through, but the reality is that she's up against a well-oiled political machine. With her financial troubles, growing list of legal issues, and deepening discontent from both the public and her political allies, Henyard faces formidable obstacles. The question now is whether her fierce determination and political savvy will be enough to overcome the challenges in front of her, or if her political empire is finally on the brink of collapse. No matter how this saga unfolds, it's clear that Tiffany Henyard's political future is hanging by a thread. Her fight to remain relevant in the political scene will be one of the most closely watched in the coming months. The drama continues to build, but with each passing day, Henyard's grip on power becomes weaker, and her once promising political career risks being relegated to the annals of local political history. Her hold on power has never seemed more precarious as she faces mounting dissatisfaction and public criticism from multiple fronts. Henyard's leadership as mayor has been marked by conflict, particularly with village trustees who have become increasingly frustrated with her actions. During a recent village board meeting, Henyard's financial mismanagement was brought into the spotlight, and accusations of political retribution swirled as many villagers voiced their displeasure, reflecting the growing resentment toward her leadership. It's not just the residents of Dalton who are turning against her. Her own chosen police chief was ousted by trustee Jason House, who is also running for mayor. This loss of support from key allies has exacerbated the crisis. The Dalton Police Department, under Henyard's leadership, has been without stable leadership for the majority of the year after a judge determined her appointed chief was unfit for the role. Officer morale has plummeted, with reports suggesting that a staggering 82% of officers are dissatisfied, adding to the mounting pressure on Henyard. Despite this, Henyard's unwavering confidence remains. She claims she will pull through with a landslide victory, drawing comparisons to Donald Trump's political rise. However, her continued public bravado contrasts sharply with the growing political, financial, and personal crises surrounding her. One of the most significant issues she faces is the financial mess she has left behind in Dalton. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was brought in to investigate the town's finances, and her findings were damning. According to Lightfoot's report, the village's general fund balance dropped from a surplus of more than $5 million in 2022 to a deficit of nearly $4 million by 2024. Furthermore, Lightfoot uncovered that Henyard had used a village credit card for personal expenses, including purchases from Target, Walgreens, and Wayfair, further fueling the public perception of her misuse of public funds. This discovery, combined with the mounting financial troubles in Dalton, has led many residents to call for Henyard's removal, with some even dubbing her the worst mayor in America. But the drama doesn't stop there. Henyard is also facing personal issues that are adding fuel to the fire. Reports have surfaced that she is facing eviction from her rental property after failing to make any payments since August. Her landlord claimed that she and her boyfriend changed the locks to prevent eviction proceedings from moving forward, only adding to the image of Henyard as someone disconnected from reality and accountability. This financial and personal instability has deepened the perception that she is unfit to lead, both professionally and personally. With all these challenges, Henyard's political future seems more uncertain than ever. While she has expressed her intent to stage a comeback through a write-in campaign, it's unclear whether this will be enough to overcome the growing list of scandals and allegations against her. The odds are stacked against her as she faces not only a fierce challenge from Trustee House, but also ongoing investigations into her administration's financial misconduct and potential abuse of power. These investigations could have severe consequences for Henyard, possibly leading to even more legal and political troubles down the road. Given the extent of her financial mismanagement, public outbursts, and personal turmoil, many are questioning how much longer she can maintain her grip on power. The people of Dalton, who have been voicing their concerns and frustrations for months, may be losing faith in her ability to lead effectively. Even if Henyard does manage to secure some form of victory in her write-in campaign, it's uncertain whether she can weather the storm of ongoing investigations and public scrutiny. Her reputation has been so tarnished that it's hard to see how she could ever regain the trust of the community. Some believe that this may be the final chapter in her political career, while others argue that the caucus that ousted her was unfair and an attempt to silence her. Regardless of which side you fall on, it's clear that Tiffany Henyard's political drama is far from over. The next chapter in this unfolding saga will undoubtedly reveal more twists and turns. But for now, Henyard's political career hangs in the balance, and the people of Dalton are waiting for her next move. Will she be able to push through her current difficulties and make a dramatic comeback? Or will her political empire finally crumble under the weight of her financial mismanagement, public outrage, and personal scandals? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe for more updates as this dramatic story continues to unfold. Stay tuned, and thank you for watching Starbuzz.